What's up? Oh, it's on, but no one's home. That's right. Hey, Wazza. Hey, Mark. Yo, Fridge. Dan Shed, g'day. Stephen Lang, hello. Team Biscuits, g'day. Kevin, hello. The casting looks really good. Very impressed. What's happening? Not very much. John Creasy, g'day. I don't feel like I've been home from work very long. End up stopping in next door. The new exhaust pipes come for the bike, and don't want to be that person, but surprisingly, it doesn't fit. It was a long shot, to be honest. But I think they're working on it, and it's probably going to be a retrofit here in Australia. I don't know. He's got a custom pipe that was made for 883 Harley in Indonesia or Korea or somewhere. Anyway, it's probably all right, but it's moved before they tried it on a jig, sort of. So it doesn't fit the bike, and it doesn't fit the turbo, and it doesn't fit any of the other bits either. So he's not real happy about that, and he's chopped it all up. So I'm not sure what he's going to do with that. But anyway, best to step back from that. As for the bike, it's a project that's going on next door. I've been doing a few paid jobs on it. It's just little little brackets and things, stuff like that. Anyway, it doesn't sound like fun, and it was really, to be honest, it was going to be a long shot. I sort of thought in between the lines. He got another one once before, which was a pretty standard pipe from their product line, and it fitted beautifully. But this one's a bit more custom, and he's got no real way of measuring anything or any idea how to measure it anyway. And he's sort of holding up a bit of cardboard with marks on it and a ruler, or he hasn't even got a ruler. He's got a school ruler, plastic school ruler, and it's just not working out. So probably just stay out of that one. Randy, g'day. I spent the weekend messing around with this, so I thought, well, I'm going to do this. Hornby Clockwork. There you go. Had an old Hornby Clockwork mechanism that needed a clean up. Was pretty dirty, pretty ugly. I actually gave it a bit of a service, put it all back together and got it running. And thought, well, I ought to build a 16mm scale loco. I don't know whether it's ever going to go anywhere. 2 foot gauge, 16mm to the foot, whatever it is, 119 scale. So I cut some brass sheet for a base and riveted a couple of pieces across there so it sits nice and level. And 3D printed and made up 3D printed some little end pieces, some couplers, buffers couplers, and put it all together, a few bolts, run out of screws. It's reversible. So it all works sort of. It's looking, that bit's looking pretty good really. Pretty happy. It's not got enough weight in it yet. So got the laser cutter out, and while it won't cut this plywood, which would be really nice if it did, it certainly will mark it out. So I've cut this out with the scroll saw and a few files and saws and things. And I'll probably make some brass windows to portholes to go in there or something, or glue something on the outside and make some plastic ones and paint them or something, I don't know. And put a nice roof on it at some point. But and some handrails on here. And give it a coat of undercoat. These have got grooved boards front and back. Like it looks like boards, or it's supposed to. And on here too, I probably should have run these up right across here, but that'll do. Was sort of thinking I'm going to put this in the middle over the spring, but it's got this key here that needs some work, so I'm going to have to find somewhere to put that. I've probably got to cut this somehow and cut a hole in here with the tube and make that clear it, and then we can sort of bolt that in there like that. Just a couple of screws, I think, and make a little cowl on each end, like steeple cab styles, and probably some handrails and a roof on it and stuff like that, and give it a coat of paint and line it out and call that done. I don't know if I'll ever have really a layout for it, but it'll run on O-gauge track and it's a bit of fun. So that was the last couple of days project, just quick. Hey, Russell. So that's going to be a cute little engine, I think, probably. Whether we can slow it down enough to run or not. And whether we can run out of brass screws, 8BA brass screws, like I always do. So I ordered some from EJ Winter. Conversation today, and Ben's in, just some local news. Ben, who's the proprietor of EJ Winter, or OB Bolton Scale Models, is in Sydney at the hospital with his son, who's had a fairly nasty accident, I believe. So hopefully everyone's all right, but I'm not expecting miracles out of that. He's got someone dispatching orders because apparently they're pretty busy, but they mussed my order up because they sent... Winter's had a sale on Australian Model Engineer magazine. So I thought, well, I'll get some back orders or some back issues of the early ones that I haven't got while they've still got them in stock. And I bought a few of them. They were like pretty good price, actually. They were sort of half price, a bit less. So I got a stack of them and they sent those, but didn't manage to send the screws, actually. So we'll see when they turn up, or if they turn up, or what the story is. Gosh, you asked some difficult questions. Kevin, what about carriages? What about them? Don't know if that's even going to be a thing. We'll see. See how enthusiastic I am about that. See how this runs. If I can get it running slow enough so it still pulls a bit of a load, maybe. But not sure. Might have to go somewhere and use someone else's layout. Might be fun to have an engine to run somewhere. Get invited more places. 16mm scale steam loco might not happen. Don't hold your breath on that. So there we go. That's what I've sort of done this weekend. I've done a whole lot of rabbit warren research on something that I'm a bit keen on doing, to do with steam, and full-size steam in particular. And yeah, I've only had one nervous breakdown and a couple of very serious anxiety attacks about it so far, so probably we're not sure about that yet. That's all very cryptic, I understand that, but we'll have some more Honestly, last night I was thinking I'm just going to say, hey, look, anyone who's been following the saga of this, it's probably not going to happen because I'm in way over my head. But we'll see. This morning, the pep talk from a couple of people, I'm sort of feeling a little bit better about it, but we'll see. I'm not really wanting to bite off more than I can chew. This is a Hornby clockwork, O-gauge clockwork key. It's got Meccano made in England written on it. And it's got this shape on the top and extra points if you know what that shape's for. But it's actually written on that side. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can. But this is the rail track gauge for O-gauge. So for tin plate trains, when you set the track up, you had to sort of go around if it had been stepped on and straighten it all out. And that's what that's for, so that the trains don't derail. So it's pretty cool. Kevin says full-time steam equals expensive. Yes, it does. You're right. The thing is, Kevin, though, it ain't getting any cheaper. And nothing as far as vintage anything in projects or vintage machinery or vintage lorries or vintage cars or anything is getting any cheaper. In fact, it's going through the roof as we speak. Everything's getting more expensive. A vintage tractor, for example, there's a couple of Lands Bulldogs I see advertised for about $25,000 to $30,000. $25,000 for a Lands Bulldog tractor or a Field Marshal tractor, that's just crazy. Early Fordson standard, like the early one, not an N model even, with steel wheels and Trembler coils, that sort of thing. Engine turns over, probably doesn't go. Some gearbox problems, $3,000. And that's a really cheap vintage tractor. So see a decent 12 horsepower Hornsby oil engine on a transporter go for 20. And they're just fairly run-of-the-mill collectible machinery that when I was smaller and I was surrounded by people who were collecting these sort of things, those sort of things changed hands for a couple of grand. Paid, I remember a friend paying $5,000 for a John Deere Model R in Tasmania because he bought it from the mainland because there wasn't any R's come to Tasmania. It was too big. It was 49 horsepower or something, the Model R diesel. And yeah, that was a major capital expenditure. That was like, you could still buy a pretty decent car for $5,000 at that point. But John Deere AR now you can spend $30,000 on to get a tidy one, and that's not even restored. So nothing's getting any cheaper. And there are still bargains around. I mean, there are things around. And steam's probably the last frontier as far as that because it's a little bit more inaccessible to most people because you've got to have like some actual paperwork to run it and to use it. So maybe it's probably not a bad investment at this point, but I don't know. That's probably just talking through my hat, and it's all very generalised and so on and so forth. But yeah, I don't know. This actually would be nice with a cab about there, something like that, with a little like toolbox on the back, and a bonnet on this end with maybe even with a radiator or something. I don't know. But this spring comes out quite a bit bigger when it's wound right down, so it's going to have to. This is going to have to be quite a bigger opening with a. So anyway, I'm not sure about that. That's where we're at. Dan, that's why we've got you. Sorry. These little engines never had a governor as such. It's got a brake. It's sort of a governor. It's got a cone brake there, which it has a stop here for a signalling stop. If you click this out when it runs up against the stop, it stops, you see. Then when you let the signal down, you've got to restart it. But there's no actual brake on it. It relies on a bit of load on the locomotive. So probably you could put a governor on it without a lot of trouble. There's a gear there. You could probably run an outrigger and a governor of some sort. I don't know. It sounds like something that probably wouldn't work particularly well. You could probably put like a slow driver on it. Even on the key wind. Don't know. Anyway, you'd have to experiment with that, but I reckon we can get it running pretty slow. It's sort of... So far it runs about like that, which isn't bad. It gets a bit quicker over time. Reverse it. Oops. There we go. Sort of works about that speed. So it's not too bad actually. That's pretty good. With that extra weight on it, you put this on it too, that doesn't help, or it does help. So it's not bad really. It's getting there. It's certainly on its way. Rustox, g'day. Need a downhill track, that's exactly what it needs. How's it reversed? There's a little tumbler in here. Don't know if you can see that. It's got a lever on one side. It's got a lever that rocks on the axle here. Let's put this up here. I don't know if you can see it. Here rocks on the axle, and this lever here hinges and swings that backwards and forwards. Now that's got a 2-speed gear on it, or an extra gear on that little lever that rocks, and it either touches on the gear on this side or the gear on that side and runs forward or backwards. So it's pretty straightforward. It's a good design. This the Hornby Clockwork engine was pretty well designed. It's got a little piece folded in here, which stops the spring touching the tracks on each side. It's sort of a good thing, and it's got this little kick out. And if we put this in, it's for signalling, and it's just got a lever here that basically pulls that little brake drum into place. So it's a brake rather than a step out clutch. So Needs a downhill track all the way. I think if you're working on that, well, probably you're a millionaire, but I don't think it's going to happen. So anyway, if anyone's got 20 acres in Queensland that they'll lend me for 10 years to pull a machine down and put it back together, I'd be very, very keen to hear from you, but it's unlikely to happen. What else? I've been messing around. I've sort of worked out how to make the universal takeoff on the thread cutting attachment. So I've been messing with that a bit too. I've got a fairly straightforward little way of doing that, and I was going to get in and do that and finish it this weekend, but just never happened. I've been most of the weekend next door and 3D printing some bits for that bike and messing with this. I've 3D printed a cab and don't really like it much. So I ended up laser engraving these and then just cutting them out by hand, and they're all right. I don't mind that. It's not too bad. So, what else? There's Australian creators. Where do I start this? Amateur Redneck Workshop. Harold's taken some time off to recover for some health stuff. You've probably been following that if you've seen the latest ARW live stream. Harold's a top guy. Met him a couple of times. He's a really awesome guy, actually. For someone that comes from Texas, he's really nice. I shouldn't say that. That's a bit mean. He's a good guy. They all are. Every American creator I've ever met is pretty awesome, actually. So, anyway, someone else is taking over the stream for a bit. Well, Harold's not so well. So, they're changing the time a bit. So it's going to be 8 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. 8 p.m. Saturday night, I think that's right. American time. Anyway, it's about 11 a.m. on Sunday morning Australian time. There you go. Something like that. 11 a.m. Queensland time. So it's a bit earlier, a bit later or something on Western Australian time, and it's midday or something in New South Wales and Victoria and Tasmania. So that sounds like a pretty good thing. And Mark Pressling sort of all decided or got on and said, hey, look, let's have all Australian creators. So in that time slot, I think we probably are going to have everyone who's Australian. I might try and make an effort. I hope everyone else does. The details, if you want details about it, send me an email or jump on Discord. They're in there. I did post that. Or you can email the guys. Some of us, I reckon most of us, if you talk to another creator, probably most of us got an email from Mark Bristling about it. So it looks like it's probably a go. So anyone who's interested and is in Australia, wants to talk up the channel a bit, probably won't get a word in edgeways. It'll be themed, which is pretty cool. I think it's shop-made tools and finding materials, which come from Prezzo, I think. So that might be really good fun. Anyway, there we go. That's Billy, yep. So I think you're included in that, Kevin. If you want to join in, I'd really like to. It sounds like good fun. Hey, Frank. So anyone who can make it or wants to, head over to the Discord channel anyway and get some details about that. I'll probably post a link. Anyone who wants to watch the stream as soon as I get it, and that'll come up in my YouTube shorts or whatever it is. Anyway, all happening then. Any of you little guys too. I think there's room for 10, so we're going to struggle to get 10. It might be good fun. What else? Don't know, I've got junk here everywhere. I'm trying to clean up as we go. Not being particularly good at that. I did have a clean bench there for a couple of days. Seems like I'm back where I started again. Don't know how you keep on top of that. We're trying. Any progress on the mill? No, nothing at all. I'm sort of still thinking about VFDs and things and trying not to make too many capital purchases at the moment. That's where I'm at. Today everyone else manages to live, to be honest. Shouldn't gripe about that. I'm probably doing reasonably well compared to some people. I appreciate all the help that I've had the last little while, but it's things aren't getting cheaper anywhere or anything. Talking to a friend in Tennessee this morning, and like she was saying, stuff's getting dear. Stuff's dear. Petrol's dear, and food's dear, and recreational drugs are dear, and all those sort of things that are important, I guess. I guess it's the same here. I don't know about recreational drugs, but everything's getting expensive, and I think it's the same everywhere. Wages don't seem to be going up, so you've either got to work two jobs, or you've got to have a side gig or be independently wealthy, and I'm not any of those things at this point. I've been getting a little bit of workshop jobs coming through, but I probably need to push that a bit more. Makes a hole in hobby time though, so we'll see how we go with that. Morning, David. What else? There was some casting happening from Machine NZ. I saw that. There was some milling. There was an excellent video on milling machine Rust Knox put up. It's a nice machine. I hope it's up to all expectations. Another good video about vices. There's one from Matty, or a couple from Matty, about making it AR collet blocks. What else did I see? I think there's a workshop update from Craig on his new channel. There was one from Jeremy about making square holes. Is there one from Stephen Lang? Did I see that? Not sure. There wasn't anything from Dan Shed, no. David, yeah, that's a Hornby O-gauge motor. You're right onto that. Excellent. Excellent. Tea and biscuits. Am I a machinist in my day job? No, I'm not. I repair watches in my day job. There you go. That's a really uninspiring sort of a trade, but there you go. That's what I do. Your castings look really good. I wonder what you're making with them. Maybe we could have a secret spoiler. That's the trouble with customer work, is it keeps you busy and you end up being sort of in the shop doing other people's jobs. Ideally, I want to get this thread cut and attachment a little bit further along. That's a job I can do without spending any money on anything. Probably need to make a box for some collets, which are all spread out here on the bench everywhere. I started this little engine and that was probably a waste of time. Oh, David, sorry, we're starting. That's the trouble. That's why I don't tell anyone what I do for a living. What oil? Whale oil is probably the best historically. What you want to do, right, if you're doing up a few clocks, here we go. Here's something we did in trade school years ago, and it was a pretty interesting exercise. If you get a little square of brass, a brass sheet, it probably only needs to be that big, and you polish it, like scour it or get a nice flat surface, a bit of water air stone and like a cork buff, something like that, to give you a nice matte, clean finish. Whether you do it that way or whether you just give it a rub give it a rub with a bit of like sand and sponge or something is probably good enough for most people. And divide it up into lines, probably 10, 12 mil apart in a grid, this way and this way. So you've got like divisions. Now, find a cover for it, like just even I don't know, if you find a little Pyrex bacon dish that'll go over the top of it on the bench and make a block of wood for it if you want to go the trouble so that it doesn't move or anything, with a lip on it, and sit it all up on the bench somewhere. And when you get new oil, put a drop in the middle of each square and make a note of the date and what sort of oil it is, and see what happens over time. And what you want in a good clock oil is something that doesn't move around or gravitate. So if you like a whale oil or a good clock oil or like a time savers oil or like one of the Swiss oils, what you'll find is that they tend to stay pretty much on colour, and they tend to stay in a little round ball where you put a drop of oil. They don't migrate much. You'll find with if you put a little bit of WD-40 in it with an eyedropper on one of the squares, that the whole square will be sticky and discoloured, like the whole plate will be sticky and discoloured in a week. So don't do that. But like a 3-in-1 oil will just run out to the scribe lines, and but it won't take long, and it'll stain the brass and it'll be sticky and collect dust and that sort of stuff. So Mobius is a pretty good oil, like green top or yellow top Mobius, depending on what you're doing with it. But whale oil's probably the best, and synthetics are kind of the way of they used to be the way of the future, but now they're kind of where the future's at. This is what we use as synthetics. And synthetics mostly are good, but they don't tend to last as long as natural product oils, and they certainly have disadvantages. So anyway, that's probably a subject for another time that I can go on for a couple of hours about it. But yeah, that's my trade, and I do know a little bit about that, probably, maybe, but I can get a little bit eloquent about it, and I apologise to anyone who's bored. Um, hey, Matt, good to see you. Not 28.50. No, probably not. The pinch, probably decent whey oil, but honestly, go and buy some decent clock oil. Don't cheap out on that. If you can get a synthetic whale oil in an older bottle, like in a dark bottle, it's 20 years old, like a proper a decent whale oil, that's probably the best. But think of the jokes I would have got if I called it sperm oil. Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm happy to answer clock questions, but look, honestly, the guy you want to talk to is probably Darren Ratcliffe in the UK. If you follow him on Facebook or on Instagram, he's an awesome guy. Should probably hit him up with your clock questions, because he's way. If you're a serious clock restorer or builder or antiquarian, probably he's the go-to man on that sort of stuff. And usually if I'm doing something, he's the person I ask. So there you go. But that's why I don't say on live stream very often what I do for a job. What else? I'll scroll. This bench is a mess. I'm on the other side of the bench. I don't know if you noticed that. So if you move over here, we're sort of, yeah, the bench is a mess. Scrolls, because I was chopping out this cab the other night. There's a bottle of Terps there because I was doing a bit of painting. There's thread cutting attachment in amongst the stuff there, and there's stuff that's just landed that probably needs putting away, and there's a hammer and a pair of dividers and stuff there, and some tools and some stationary engine bits, and the remainder of the locomotive that this came out of over there, if you can see that, and other projects, a little like a black engineer's black book, the Sentinel Transport News over there, a copy of, and a jar. There's a 3D printed cab that I started messing around with and didn't sort of like. I'm really not that impressed with that. So, but it's not bad print for ABS. I thought it's pretty good. It's dog walk time. Take care. Hey, Paul. Anyway, let's put everyone to sleep talking about clock oils, and I'm sorry. There's another loco there that is running fairly well, which is I bought a couple of old locos that have been repainted for someone's private road livery. It's a fairly rough paint job, actually. A long time ago, I bought two of these. They're nice little low gauge locos. This one's pretty complete. It's interesting loco in a lot of ways. It's reasonably tidy, and it could do with the cleanup, but it runs reasonably well too. It was probably a green LNER or Great Western engine originally, I would say. Before someone painted it black and lined it out in white. It's got new type coupler on the back, like a post-war coupler and a pre-war coupler here from the 30s. Interesting. This is what they call it, a Type 4 tank, something like that, a Hornby Type 4 tank. Number 4, maybe I'm wrong there. Anyway, this is a fun little engine, really. But these levers come through the back, and that's how it's controlled. So this is your forward and reverse. This one. I didn't give this much of a clean up. I could do with some adjustment, and I'll probably pull some of the bits off the other one and put on this one, because this cylinder's loose, see? And this one, they're kind of a bit bent. It's a bit sluggish. I did have it running fairly nice the other day, but I didn't really give it a service or anything. I figured that this was probably the tidier of the two, so I'd leave it in place. But all the guard lines, the derail lines, things are all sort of bent, and the cylinders are all a bit sort of wibbly wobbly and bent. This one could do with if we bent this back out here and this one out here, it'd probably run a whole lot better, see? There you go. It needs a bit of adjustment with a block of wood and a spanner. But that was the nature of like tin plate railways. So 16mm scale is quite a bit bigger than this. So fairly untidy, but it's got all 4 buffers, and it's got all the lamp irons on it, and it's still got the handrails here. And probably it would restore up half reasonably good, but it does need a good clean and a tidy up. And it's probably going to need at some point. It's mine made up about whether it's going to be like pre-war or post-war like tank loco. I reckon it's probably a post-war one. It's 1950s, and someone's put this on here for some reason. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's a pretty rough little engine. I've got nicer ones, but that's pretty rough. Have I got... Take care, Kevin. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Can't wait for a casting video. Have I got track? Yeah, I've got a fairly big collection, actually, David, of Hornby tin plate. And I sort of would like to... This is rough, but I'd very much like to set some of it up at some point. And it was very much the idea when I moved in here. It just hasn't happened. I'm probably going to, on the top of this bench, which is only 4 foot wide, which isn't big enough for a circular track, I'm probably going to run a sort of a extension down the side that hinges up, so that I can set up a circular track on here, sort of half permanent or like half temporary, and we can do some running. I'm too old to get up and down on the floor. Yeah, the coupling on the front's pre-war. This one's post-war, so it's a 1950s engine, but it's a bit rough. Someone's done a job on it. And there was a matching pair, so someone had a matching pair of them. And I've pulled the mechanism out and serviced it for this one, but So that one's got 4 buffers, but hasn't got the back coupler. To be honest, that might be the body that gets used. It's missing the back panel's missing. So there'll be bits and pieces of both of them, and it might get a restoration job a bit tidier than what it's got. We'll see. Chirpy, g'day. Good to see ya. Pretty excited to see the new lathe you're making. Looks like a fun project. Chirp posted pictures today in Discord of some sketches for patterns for a wood lathe that he's going to make. So it could be good fun. Anyway, whether anything happens to them, I've got numerous of these little tank locos and a couple of bigger engines as well. These are around everywhere. Like, they're a fairly common little loco in much better condition than this. So happy to sacrifice one mechanism out of one of these for a bigger engine. I don't know if it's even going to be any good, but we'll see how we go. See how it runs on the track. Probably the flanges for the wheels are too big and all those sort of things. So some casting videos coming from Chirp too, so they'll be worth a look. Make sure you bookmark and watch them. Well, so I seem to be collecting junk for other people. There's a bit of a problem here in the workshop. I'm going to have to sort of either make some deliveries, get someone to come and pick some stuff up. I've got 4 bags of coarse grade garnet for a sandblaster here that probably belong to my mate Josh, and probably if he doesn't come and get them, they'll just disappear and I won't have seen them, because they'd be pretty useful to have at some point in the future. I've got a roof rack and a couple of ratchet straps belong to my mate Marcus Christensen, and he better come and get them too, or they might disappear too. Might get chopped up for a welding bench. What else? I got my mate John Pettit's big 5-ton fly press here, and that's kind of, it's not exactly taking up room, but it's sort of, it either wants a bench setting up so I can use it, or it wants moving on, I think. Hi from Cornwall, good day. I just need to make some videos. That's where we're at. Maybe I could make a video about all the stuff that's sitting here that belongs to someone else. Very difficult to impress myself or to convince myself that I've got anything, I'm doing anything that's really worth taking video of, but there you go. That's where I'm at with it mostly. Anyway. Yeah. I've just discovered that one of my local suppliers has got a stock of 6 and 4BA bolts, or screws and bolts in stock. Has had for some time, so I'm going to head over there in the next few days and probably stock up on those. So that's something that I'm going to do in the next few days. Any electric? I can't afford electric O-gauge, and to be honest, I'd like to run live steam on my track. So honestly, 3-rail electric is kind of a little bit more difficult because of that. So at this point, I've resisted the urge to get any electric. And I always had horror sort of nightmares about three-rail electric, in that the controllers are back to front, so you've got to put them real full. They're very easy to race if you're a bit nervous about them, and you end up losing locomotives off the side of baseboards and things. Anyone who's ever used Hornby three-rail electric and the controllers will know exactly what I mean. The first contact's flat out, and the second one's flat out further, and then after that they slow down again. So you've sort of got to use them a bit and give them really a bit nervous about that. So that's the main reason I've never bought any electric or acquired any electric. But to be honest, I really like Clockwork, and there might be a live steamer on that track at some point, but don't hold your breath. This combustion engine you made running? Everyone asks that question. It's sitting here, heads off it, crankshaft's out. It's all in a box over there. We're going to do a bit of a job on that. There are things that need to be fixed on this engine. I've been through them a couple of times recently, but there were some casting issues. So really we need to fix some alignment problems on this casting before we go any further, and that's down the track when we've got a mill that works, and at this point we don't. So that answers that question. Kick press is there, it's nearly back together. We've been doing a little bit on that, so it's nearly back together. I don't know really what else there is to show anyone. I'm sort of not sure we actually achieve anything here every weekend. Anyone got a video they want to shout out? Anyone done anything cool? Sunday 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock or something, there's ARW live stream, if anyone's interested in that. Mini's a fairly large major project, to be honest. Hope you're well aware of that. I'm sure you are. There's a lot more work in that than there looks. Just because it's small doesn't mean that there's any less work. But I'm sure you're already up to speed on that. There's still as many bits. I dropped my set of drills. I'm really not impressed about that. And I've spent an hour putting my set number drills back together. And I think I've got most of them again. I'm really not impressed with that. They made a mess. Oh, that sounds awesome, David. I listed and put up for sale a watch cleaning machine a little while back. I'm not sure I want to get rid of it or not yet. I probably do. But anyone who's local and wants to buy a Elmo watch cleaning machine, it's in pretty tidy condition, hit us up. I've had one guy try and wanting to know if I'd take time payment on it, and I'm really not feeling like I'm a drip feed expert, so I downplayed that a bit, but I reckon it's worth what I got on it. It's just no one's got any money. That sounds awesome, Chirp. That's good. Mike, I hope there wasn't too much damage. There's no learning how to make them. This is easy for me to say because I don't actually practice this. But if you just turn the camera on and dribble for a bit, and then turn the camera off and upload them, you've got a video. And yeah, maybe it's bad, but they're only going to get better, aren't they? If you start low, well, the expectations are managed. That's my thoughts on that. So all I need to do is start the camera, and that's where I run short. Anyway. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Big yawn happening there. I say that a lot. I honestly don't think I've got much else to say though, so I might wind this up. Big thanks to anyone who might be watching this who sat down and chatted to me the last 24 hours about things that were sort of stressing me a bit. I don't know if they come across as stressing me, but really appreciate the time you spent. So there's a few of you know who that was. Chirpy's got it. Chirpy's got it. That sounds pretty good. Oh, you could live stream like this and all you idiots watch it. But we've got all these things. We've got a shaky camera, and at least you can't hold it vertical this way up. And yeah, I'm not particularly good at explaining stuff, but we get video and it gets uploaded and people watch it, so pretty keen. And then shoot me an email with your video. That goes for anyone. If you shoot me an email or a message with your video, or post on Discord, I'm happy to shout you out, get you some likes. Yeah, totally down for that. So you should totally do that. Where's the Discord channel? Craig's not here, so we can't get him to send you a link. Discord is, oh my gosh. Chirp might, if you ask him nicely, Chirp might put up a Discord link. I'd really appreciate it if he did. I can't do it from here. Who else is here that's on Discord? Don't know, everyone went to bed. They're all a bit quiet this week. Chirp can't post links here either. Spare Room Machine Shop's the Discord channel anyway. Look, I'll stick it in the comments on this video. Check back in half hour and I'll have it up there in the description. I should do it, I'm just slack. So it'll be in the description of the video. Anyway, I'm going to call it, I think, anyway. Really appreciate anyone who's tuned in to listen to me dribble and look at what we're doing and watch me shoot off on a tangent and not actually complete anything and not actually make any good videos. So probably I could do a collab with Chirpy in the procrastination video. Probably work. Oh, Chirp's going to post it. We're holding on a sec for Chirpy. Anyway, take care, Russell. It's good to see you. Can I pass this link through? Probably. I've got another device here. Take care, Paul. What have we got here? Now I'm just going to put it up in the look. Honestly, I'm just going to put it up in the description on this video. So refresh it in 5 minutes and click the link. Anyway, take care. I'm out. Be kind to each other, and we'll catch you all next time. Really appreciate catching up with you all, and don't forget Sunday or Saturday night if you're in America. We're out.